Alright, fine, I'll admit it. This video was intended to go out on Valentine's Day. I mean, it would have, but then my brain decided to throw me a little party and he invited all the ghosts of my insecurities, past, present, and future. And now that I feel better, it's way past Valentine's Day and I guess now I have no valid reason to be doing this video really, but screw it, let's just have fun with it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Crimsy and I'm a woman of simple pleasures. I see an opportunity for horror content and I give into it like a starving artist in need of rent money, which for once is not a metaphor, this is just my life. And as far as not having a life goes, I had this brilliant idea for Valentine's Day that I would draw every single existing pink Pokemon there is, while totally messing up their design with my creepy art style. But being the genius that I clearly am, I did not realize there is quite a big number of them, like not even including the shinies. So yeah, today we will only go over my personal favorites and I'll make a deal with you guys. If a big number of you lovely people who watch this video take a moment of your time to give it a thumbs up, maybe even comment on which is your favorite of the bunch, or okay, let's just be crazy for a moment, maybe if you even subscribe to my channel after this, then I promise you I'll make a sequel to this next year, but this time I'll spice things up a little and I'll make it a shiny Pokemon edition. I mean, look at these beauties. There is so much potential for creepy awesomeness in there, like, we need to make this happen, people, but it's up to you. So, our first pick of the day has been progressing quite a bit as I was talking. Most people call this Pokemon Igglybuff, but personally, I like to call it Curly Bubblegum Baby on drugs, because I think it's more fitting, somehow. I don't know about you guys, but I've never used or seen the purpose of using a baby Pokemon in my teams. They don't really bring anything new to the games in terms of design or practicality. They're kind of just there to be cute, I guess. Like, don't misunderstand me, it's still a lot better than a bunch of Pokemon who are both useless and ugly. You know who you are. And I'll admit, I wasn't sure about making this video at first, especially considering the hoops I've been going through lately just to keep making content on YouTube. So Igglybuff was this kind of make it or break it test subject. And the moment I was done with her, with that adorable little pink heroine baby, I knew this was going to be a fun video to make. I mean, look at those eyes. Those eyes have seen unspeakable things. The only thing I wish I had done differently is to make it a little bit creepier. I think it's a lot cuter than it is creepy. So I promise you the next Pokemon will be a lot better, or worse. It depends on your perspective on things. Next up, I went with drawing one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 1, the lovely moon-worshipping alien girl, Clefairy. I've just always loved how mysterious and obscure the lore surrounding Clefairy was, and how elusive they were in the games and the TV show. I mean, the games straight up say that Clefairies are a coven of extraterrestrial witches dwelling in dark caves and only coming out at night to dance under the moonlight around a giant big rock that fell from space. What I'm trying to say is, basically, they're just a normal God Girls club from the 80s. And because apparently they were not metal enough already, they have this very rare move called Metronome, which is pretty much the Pokemon equivalent of just pushing that big red button that's written "Do not push" on it, which, by the way, should never be mistaken for this big red button. I totally encourage you to push this one. I heard only good things happen to the people who push this button. Just saying. And for all those reasons, she's one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 1. So here she is, in all her pink psycho beauty, I just love how she turned out. She's definitely more creepy than Igglybuff. And now let's just move on to our next Pokemon. The next Pokemon I wanted to draw could easily fall into the very forgettable category of the third Pokemon generation. And it's a shame, really, it is, because I really like Skitty's design, unlike a lot of other Pokemon from Gen 3. I think Skitty is really cute and it has so much potential for creepiness. It kind of feels like the whole generation of Pokemon Skitty belongs to was such a hit or miss in terms of designs. This generation got some of the most amazing designs, they're just perfect, there's nothing to add to those. And then we have this. Why? Why do you even exist? Like I just... Who made this terrible call? I swear I just want to talk. I don't know what's up with the nails, I just think I decided that it would be part of the character for some reason. I like to imagine that this little guy just loves to hide nails in the shoes of his loved ones, but I'd like to think he's not doing it to be mean, he's just like trying to get their attention because he's shy or something. So here you go, this Skitty ended up looking way better than I thought it would, and somehow he's even creepier than Clefairy, which is great. Also, shout out to my friend Coin from the channel Coinplant for coming up with that pun, I just love it. You guys should go check him out, he's a really nice guy and he makes these fun little animations about Schmickens and D&D and like what's not to love. Alright, our next Pokemon in line is my personal favorite of all time from Gen 1, or just arguably my favorite Pokemon period. I'm just a big fan of Pink Embryo Space Cat, like, what can I say? Actually, I blame Pokemon the first movie for my obsession with Mew. I think this movie was and remains to this day my favorite Pokemon movies ever. It had this unique vibe to it, something that I think no other Pokemon movie came even close to recreate, and let's just not forget that iconic scene with Pikachu that scarred a whole generation of kids. Did you guys know they made a sequel to that movie? It's so underrated and I love this sequel, it's super good, but I just don't see people mention it anywhere. And it really is a bummer because it was a really good movie as far as sequels go. Anyway, I think I struggled with Mew's design the most while drawing her. Finding the right proportions for her face was pretty difficult, but I also did not know what to do with that giant bulging eye of hers and how I could manage to make her looking creepy after giving her such a cute pose to begin with. But in the end, I think I managed to balance things out pretty well, so I'm really happy with how she looks, and I think the message she comes with is also pretty sweet, so yeah, all in all, I really like her. Okay, Pokemon number 5. I think this Pokemon is probably the first thing that comes to mind when you're asked to assign a Pokemon to your ex-girlfriend. Especially the crazy ex-girlfriend. She's basically Kirby with a toupee and cat ears and eyes filled with the American dream or trauma. I honestly can't tell the difference. But am I the only person who is very confused and also a bit curious as to why Jigglypuff turned out to be so popular that it got featured in Super Smash Bros. For the last 20 years or so? Like, some of the most iconic video game characters are in those games, and somehow Jigglypuff is among them. It's so random, and I don't know who made this weird call, but I also kind of love it, because I love Jigglypuff. She was the crazy stalker in the anime series, so for this video I thought I would make her look like that image we all have of the crazy ex-girlfriend who stalks you on social media, who reads all of your posts like it was written for her, and who keeps making new alt accounts to get in contact with you or your family, because no boundaries. I wish I was kidding when I say that there are actual people like that out there. It's both fascinating and terrifying to know, but they're out there, lurking, spying, watching you as you sleep in your bed next to you. So there she is, your biggest fan in the world. I get the feeling she would do anything for you and to you if given the opportunity. I think she turned out awesome, and she's instantly one of my favorites, that's for sure. Coming up next, we have Sylveon, the intertwining Pokemon, whatever that means. Sylveon is a fairy type. It's also the newest member to join the Evolution Party. Its most defining trait are the extendable ribbons covering his whole body. They're also called feelers because they can transmit thoughts and emotion from Sylveon to someone else through touch, which, if you think about it for a second, can be kind of creepy. Also, my main inspiration behind this version of Sylveon is the Cheshire Cat, no surprise there. But I also love the idea that Sylveon can just grab things and people with its ribbons and potentially strangle them. I know it's a bit dark, but I think it adds a really big creepy factor to him. I'm also a really big fan of making something scary out of pastel colors. I think it's kind of boring how most horror content is always so dark and uses so much black, and in a lot of instances it's great, it's fine, but I also like to think that anything, no matter the subject or the color palette, can be made into something that inspires dread and terror. Now that I think about it, I guess you could say this is the theme of this whole video. Taking adorable pink creatures and making them just uncomfortable to look at. In the end, I just love how Sylveon turned out. He has this psychotic look in his eyes, and he makes me a bit anxious to look at, honestly. So to me, this is a win. Let's move on to our next Pokemon. Now, okay, for this last Pokemon, I decided to go all out. I was like, screw being polite, I'm going to make this Pokemon the creepiest I can. And so I did. I think I succeeded. For better or for worse. Lickitung is already kind of creepy, let's just admit that. So making him the worst drawing of the day was not that hard, but even then I wanted there to be a little twist with him. So I thought, hey, this Pokemon eats everything, so why not have him eat his trainer's Valentine as well? The idea was that this Pokemon is filled to the brim with jealousy, and maybe a couple plates of pasta, but he doesn't want his crimes to be found out, so what better way to hide your crime and leave no trace whatsoever than to engulf the person you killed in the bottomless pit of your belly. What's even funnier is that he has the ability to just regurgitate the arm of the victim and offer to his master the rose that was intended for her in the first place. Anyway, I think this is by far the best narrative, and I really enjoyed coming up with this piece. I think it was really fun to draw. It was more creative than the other ones, I feel, and Lickitung looks so creepy and disgusting. I love him, period. And here we have all of the Valentine's cards that were made today. If you want to send those to someone that you love or that you hate, feel free to do so. Maybe you have a dark humor like I do, I don't know. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I never thought that making creepy versions of Pokemon would be this much fun, but I had a blast. So make sure to tell me which card is your favorite in the comments, and let me know if you want me to make more videos like this one by giving it a like and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. If the video is well received, I'd love to make more of these in the future. But for now, the sun is rising and I shall return to my grave, aka my bed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Au revoir!